Please state your name for the court.
My name is Blair Georgiou, Georgiu.
And what is your current position, Blair?
I am a current student at Trillium High School.
How many years have you attended Trillium?
I've attended Trillium for 3 years, and I'm a current junior.
What is your connection to the case?
I plan to organize the alumni breakfast, and it really meant a lot to me.
Could you describe what happened on the morning of the incident?
Well, the breakfast was planned for Friday, September 9th, 2022. I decided to bring my grandma with me, who is a Trillium High alum, and was formally invited to the event. In fact, we got there early, around 7:15 a.m., and we were the first 2 people to go through the line and get our food. Dean Silva gave me a shout out in front of the crowd at the breakfast and even introduced me to their mother. Things were going great, that is, until Dean Silva invited us to eat our breakfast. At around 7:45 a.m., my grandma took one bite of her eggs and immediately started yelling about her dentures crackling. I had no idea what was happening, but I was mortified. It wasn't until Dean Silva said something was wrong with the eggs. They're sour and popping, and ordered everyone to stop eating, and my stomach sat to the floor. I realized everything I had worked for and planned for had been ruined. I also knew that this was another case of the exploding candy challenge.
Who was involved in planning the breakfast?
I helped plan everything along with Trillium's Dean Remy Silva and Trillium's head administrative assistant Rowan Tesfaye.
Now, Blair, why were you so involved in planning the breakfast?
Well, usually the top students from each grade are invited to the breakfast, and I thought it would diversify my resume for college as well as make me more competitive for schools. I also wanted to raise a lot of money to fully fund our athletic programs like our girls basketball team.
And why did the incident make you so upset?
I was so upset because I knew how much this financial burden might impact the programs at Trillium. I realized the basketball team might not have as much funding as last year for equipment or travel.
Are you affiliated with any sports at Trillium?
Yes, I'm the equipment manager and the statistician of the basketball team.
Do you believe the defendant is guilty of sabotaging the alumni breakfast?
Stevie's the only person ranked higher than me academically. I'm convinced that Stevie is jealous of my recent success outside of academics, so why would they want to sabotage me?
Were you pulled into the office after this incident occurred?
Yes, well, I had a meeting with Dean Sylvia, Rowan Tesfaye, and Ari Nowak. That was planned, but I was also pulled out of class at 1:45 by Rowan and brought back to the dean's office.
Could you describe this meeting with Dean Sylvia, Rowan Tesfaye, and Ari Nowak?
I was able to ask about the breakfast at the honor board hearings 2 days later, just like Dean Silva had asked. The honor board hears issues of academic integrity throughout the high school and recommends consequences. Aside from the mission to ask about the alumni breakfast, this was a very interesting batch of hearings for me because Stevie Kahn was the subject to one of them. Stevie had been caught cheating on a test the previous Friday. I was surprised to find out about the cheating incident. At Stevie's hearing, I asked Stevie about the cheating incident. I was told they didn't have time to study because they were out late last night. Stevie said that instead they went shopping, stayed up really late, and made a dumb decision. Stevie got caught cheating the same day as the alumni breakfast. The night Stevie was up late was the same night the cafeteria staff made the eggs for the breakfast. So I asked Stevie why they were out on school that night and what they were shopping for. But Stevie said, I don't have to tell you where I was. The only other information I got out of Stevie was Stevie admitting that they had done the exploding candy challenges in other circumstances. Then Rowan, who also serves as the honor board faculty advisor, interrupted my questioning and told me to ask Stevie to leave the room so the honor board could discuss Stevie's punishment for cheating.
And what did you talk about in the first meeting?
In the first meeting, I told them that Stevie's honor board hearing and how suspicious Stevie was when I questioned them. I said that I thought Stevie definitely knew more than they were letting on.
Was there another meeting that took place?
Yes.
What was discussed in this other meeting?
When I got pulled out, I was hoping that they would have nailed whether it was Stevie or not, but Stevie was there when I got there. I guess calling me to the office was a chance for Dean Silva to hear both sides of the story of the events from the honor board hearings because Dean Silva asked me to describe what happened. I told him that Stevie mentioned being out late that night of the incident, shopping. but Stevie wouldn't say what they were buying. I explained that Stevie admitted to doing the exploding candy challenge in the past, and that Stevie got super defensive and evasive when I asked questions about the breakfast. Dean Silva turned to Stevie and asked where they got all those exploding candy to ruin so many eggs.
What was Stevie's response?
Stevie then asked, "How do you know it wasn't one of the cafeteria staff? I've seen teachers and other adults on TikTok doing it too." Also, Stevie mentioned the exploding candy could have been added to the eggs at any time after the school day ended, and not at night. I admit they had a point with that one.
And what did Dean Silva do?
Dean Silva said that they were going to confirm some things with the cafeteria staff, and stood up to leave the office. Stevie stood up too, as if she was going to follow along. Dean Silva said that they could question the cafeteria staff alone, so Stevie sat back down on her own.
Did anything happen while you were waiting for the dean?
An argument broke out. I pride myself on my integrity, but I don't need to tear Stevie down to build myself up, if that makes sense. I tried to express that to Stevie, but they yelled back at me and we started arguing. Then Stevie said, "They're never going to prove it was me. They have no evidence. I never even sent that TikTok." I asked what TikTok Stevie was talking about, but Stevie didn't say anything else.
How did you feel after this?
I couldn't believe it. Stevie had practically confessed to being the culprit of the exploding candy challenge, and I knew I'd have to remember what Stevie had said and report it straight to SRO Nowak when I got a chance.
How did the interaction with Nowak go?
I heard someone approach the dean's office from the hallway. When I turned around, I realized it was SRO Nowak. SRO Nowak crossed their arms and leaned against the door frame of the dean's office. Apparently, they heard some of the conversation because Nowak said, "I've seen kids get charged with less. I think these pranks are just funny, but people can get hurt, and it's my job to prevent that."
How long did that meeting last?
By that time, it was around 3 p.m. The meeting went longer than I expected, and I didn't want to miss much time in class. However, I knew that I could have left at any time.
Can you recall the dialogue between you and Student Resource Officer Nowak following to receiving this information?
I told SRO Nowak that while Stevie and I were alone in the dean's office, Stevie practically confessed that they were the culprit of the exploding candy challenge. I also told SRO Nowak that several members of the basketball team were talking about Stevie bragging on Stevie's TikTok. Finally, I said that Stevie was probably chasing clout and would have saved all the evidence on their phone for bragging rights.
What did Student Resource Officer Nowak do with this information later on?
SRO Nowak said my statements would be taken seriously, then told me I must have had a long day and dismissed me to go home.
So, just to clarify, this is where your interactions with the Exploding Candy Challenge ended?
Yes, Stevie self-incriminated themselves to me, and I voluntarily informed Stevie's statements immediately to SRO Nowak. SRO Nowak then later requested a warrant for Stevie's locker and her belongings and her phone, ultimately placing her as the culprit.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.